Hello everyone, today is 6th of August. My name is Sahil and welcome to the newspaper analysis. Guys, before starting up the today's newspaper analysis, I had come up with a question, though I asked this question earlier also. Guys, do you want that we should start the live newspaper analysis at 8 a.m. into the morning or even the earlier? Now that particular analysis will also be available after that the live session has been over. So if you want that we should start it at 8 a.m., please comment into the comment box. Now guys, in the today's newspaper analysis, we will be taking up the entire analysis of the Hindu, as well as we will see that if there are some good articles into the explained section. Now guys, let's start with the overview. So first of all, if we see onto the Indian Express explained section, much important articles are not there, whether you should invest into the equity markets, then the split into the UPA government that came. So guys, nothing very much important is there. Now this is the first page of the Hindu newspaper, and guys, here we can see that the Supreme Court has admitted this thing, that the allegations that are being made against the government under the Pegasus, it has been very much serious, and now the August 10 has been listed as a date on which the Supreme Court will be hearing it. However, apart from this, nothing is there. We'll see that what will happen once the case will begin. Then guys, this particular article below, it is a very important article where the center is planning to redact the retrospective taxation law. We will see the background, what has happened, everything. Then guys, here we can see that the dropout into the premier institutions from the socially vulnerable sections have been high. So we will see that what has happened here. Then guys, India had beaten the Germany and had won the bronze medal into the men's hockey, a important and a proud moment for India. Then guys, this particular article below, it talks about an ongoing case going into the Delhi High Court. And now the matters of the case are not very much important, but under the light of GS paper number 4, ethicality versus legality, we will see this particular matter. Then guys, moving on. So this is the city page. Onto the city page, nothing much important have been there. Fine. Guys, this particular article, it is talking that basically the High Court has seeked the response from the center that how many people have been killed under the manual scavenging, because guys, recently a reply was given into the parliament that no person has been died into the last 5 years. So guys, just that kind of a thing, nothing important is there. Then guys, further moving, now the Delhi cabinet had terminated one of a panel that has it established earlier for monitoring the real-time sources of air pollution. Fine, but it has now constituted a new panel. Fine. So guys, apart from this, nothing important is there. Then guys, further moving on, fine, all these articles are the political news, you can leave it. Then guys, going to the editorial page. Now this particular article talks about the resolving of Assam-Mizoram issue. We will see this. Then guys, this article talks about the India-Nepal cooperation that is needed for the flood management into the Bihar. Then guys, this particular article talks about that into the USA there is a kind of a vaccine reluctance that is going on. Much importance is not there. However, this article guys is important article which talks about the Madras High Court's recent decision where it has basically nullified a Tamil Nadu government's amendment. We'll see what has happened. Then why government schools are not the first choice. So guys, good article, we will see that what has happened here. Then guys, the other article, the opportunity of storytelling, not very much important. Then guys, going to the next page, here we can see that the basically ruckus is going into the parliament, in the farmers' terms, etc. Guys, we can see that many of the bills are being passed without any discussion, without any deliberation, which is actually a very bad kind of precedence that is being taken up. Moreover, guys, the bills which are now being passed, that is the Essential Defense Service Bill, which has been cleared by Rajya Sabha. Already we have seen in our newspaper analysis, basically it provides that the strikes into the defense establishment cannot be done. Then guys, the air quality management into the National Capital Region Bill, we have also seen it just a couple of days back, which provides for a new body which will be looking into the pollution. Then guys, all these are the issues. Fine, apart from this, nothing much more important is there. Then guys, moving to the next page, here we can see that the external affairs minister is visiting the Iran. We will see that how it is important for the relations of the both countries. Then guys, this particular article talks about the dropout rate into the premier institutions. We will see it. Then guys, other articles not important. Then moving to the next page, guys, here we can see that the suicides, mental health, etc. has been talked about. We will see that what has been there. Then guys, other things are also there. Fine, but they are not very much important with respect to our UPSC. Fine, onto the world's page, guys, we can see that the Britain will not recognize the Taliban that takes power by force. All the countries are saying this particular thing, but on ground, no one does anything. Fine. Then guys, other evolving details are there. Then moving to the next page, that is the business. Onto the business, guys, the corporate trends, etc. have been more or less talked about. Fine. So that is all about the newspaper overview for the today, guys. And now let's discuss these articles one by one. Now guys, starting up with the today's GS quote. So today we will be taking a quote from the J.S. Mill, one of the most prominent political thinker. He says, bad men need nothing more to compass their ends than that good men should look on and do nothing. Guys, this particular quote provides that the existence of injustice into the society, existence of wicked activities into the society is possible not just because there are the bad men, but at the same time there is a silent citizenry which is existing, and because of the silence of the citizenry, even the good intentions fails to make a dent. And guys, as these people will be silent, the bad men, they will always be getting away to do the wrong things. So guys, raising the voice, taking up the initiative, questioning the wrong things becomes equally important into the society to bring the justice. Guys, this particular idea we can utilize into the GS paper number 4, GS paper number 2, as well as in topics related to the essay. So that is all about the today's GS quote, and now let's take the newspaper analysis one by one. Now friends, taking up the first article. So this article has been taken up from the Hindu newspaper, and here we can see that it reads, the center moves to redact the retrospective law. Now guys, it will be important under the GS paper number 3 under the topic of taxation reforms or the steps taken by the government to enhance the ease of doing business in India. Now guys, before going into this particular legislation, there is some of the background that I would like to tell you first. Now see, guys, for the ease of doing business in any country, the tax certainty and the tax justice needs to be the most prominent factor. Guys, it has been said many times into the India that India follows many a times a policy of tax overzealousness, and it leads to the tax terrorism. Guys, that remark of tax terrorism was made in 2012 against the government of India. Now the question comes that what has happened. So guys, into this particular respect, there are two of the very prominent and high profile cases that has happened. One is the case related to the Vodafone, and the second is with respect to the Cairn Energy. Now guys, first of all, when we talk about the Vodafone, see, Vodafone came in India after it acquired the business and assets of the Hutchison SR, the Hutch as it was existing earlier. Now guys, this particular deal happened at the Cayman Islands, fine, and into this particular arrangement that had happened, the government of India asked for the capital gain tax, and more than 20,000 crore rupees of tax was asked. However guys, here both the Vodafone and the Hutch, it provided that this particular deal had happened beyond the jurisdiction of the Indian tax authorities, and therefore no tax is needed to be paid into this particular transaction. However guys, this particular thing, center government insisted that we deserve a taxation. This particular matter reached to the Supreme Court in 2012, and guys, even the Supreme Court ruled into the favor of the Vodafone and said that no tax is to be given. Then guys, similarly, the next case comes is of the Cairn Energy. Now the Cairn Energy, it is a British conglomerate which came into the India for the mining business. Now guys, when it came into the India, basically the Cairn India, its holding was under the control of the Cairn Britain. Now guys, initially the Cairn India, it was not listed onto the stock exchange. Into the main course of time, the Cairn India, it got listed onto the stock exchange. And guys, there was a kind of an internal arrangement that had happened between the Cairn Britain and Cairn India, where the Cairn India, which got established onto the stock exchange, it transferred some of the shares to the Cairn Britain. Now guys, into this particular thing, because of this internal adjustment that happened in 2006 and 2007, here also the government claimed that owing to this particular internal restructuring, there is the capital gain tax which have emerged, and this particular tax is again to be paid to the government of India. And the Cairn insisted that the tax is not to be paid. And guys, owing to this particular thing, into the Indian Tax Appellate Tribunal also this particular matter went. Now guys, the government of India, it became frustrated. It said that it basically a kind of assumption might have come that how these particular corporates are challenging the sovereign taxation power of the government of India. And then guys, what happened? As a result, in 2012, through the finance bill, the government amended the Indian taxation law, and it provided very clearly that the indirect transfer of Indian assets will be coming under the ambit of the taxation. Not these transactions will be taxed, rather it was provided that the retrospective taxation can also be there. It means that all the transactions that had happened into the back date, be it 2004, 2007, they will be coming under the taxation. Now guys, this particular thing was the act which was called as the tax terrorism in India. Now guys, the Cairn in response even approached the International Court of Arbitration, and guys, we have seen already into the 24 December newspaper analysis that there the Cairn had won this particular tax dispute. The International Court of Arbitration provided that the Cairn need not to pay any tax. Rather, the Indian government had went for the intimidation of the Cairn, and as a result, the Indian government needs to pay $1.2 billion. And guys, at that point of time, many of the opinions came out that basically this Cairn, as it won the case, it shows that India's tax policy, they are not completely objective, justice oriented, and as a result now India needs to take a kind of an upper path and needs to resolve this particular matter amicably. However, guys, just after a few days, on to the 20th February, we saw that the government said that they will file an appeal against the Cairn verdict that has come. And at that point of time also, it was criticized that this particular thing will not be sending the good sentiments on the front of ease of doing business in India. It will show that the government has become very much tax zealous. Now guys, as a result, we have seen that as government was not paying the basically the damages through the Cairn India, rather it was further proceeding or dragging the case. What happened? Cairn had filed the case against the India in more than the 10 jurisdiction, even into the United States. Cairn had sued the Air India. It said that we will recover the money by selling the assets of the Air India which were into the US, because the Air India belongs to the government of India. And guys, into the same direction, Cairn also filed a case against the Indian properties that were existing into the Paris. And guys, into this particular direction, a court into the Paris, it also allowed the Cairn that it can attach 20 Indian assets, and by selling them, $23 million could be recovered. So guys, all these particular things we have covered into a newspaper analysis, but you can see that all these things are leading to kind of an embarrassment for the government of India. And now guys, finally, what has happened into this particular news, we will see. So guys, now the Union Finance Minister, she had introduced the taxation law amendment bill into the Lok Sabha, and it basically aims to nullify the retrospective taxation provisions which are existing into the 2012 Act. It provides that any tax demand that has been made has been made onto the transaction that took place before May 2012, it will be dropped. Any taxes that had already been collected, they will be repaid back without the interest rate. Moreover, it has also been said that the taxpayers, they also need to drop all the charges that have been filed against the government of India. So basically here a compromise is being attained. Here the government of India is coming to a kind of a field where it is inviting the stakeholders that let's play with the rules and let's not drag this particular matter forward. So guys, this is a kind of a positive development that has happened, and I believe that it will be helping to enhance the ease of doing business status into the India on the taxation front. So that is all what has happened. However guys, without this particular background, this news into the isolation might not be making much of a sense. So guys, I believe that you have understood this entire issue. So that is all. And guys, just one more thing, you don't need to go too much into the nitty-gritties and to the hairline details that okay, on what date, what happened and all such kind of things, because it is not at all necessary for the UPSC examination. So that is all. And now we'll be moving to the next article. Now guys, this particular article taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it will be important for the GS paper number 2 social justice. Just as a passing reference, we can use what has provided here. Now guys, it has been said that into the higher education, particularly into the premier institutions such as the IITs, dropout rates have increased, and into these dropouts, large number of people are belonging to the reserved categories, particularly the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. Now guys, here the data has been given. It has been provided that nearly 63% of the undergraduate dropouts that had happened, they belonged to the reserved categories, particularly to the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. And guys, this particular data has been provided by the Ministry of Education. After that guys, it has also been provided that if we see in some of the IITs, the share is even more higher. For example, into the IIT Guwahati, we can see that whatsoever dropouts had happened, out of them the 88% belonged to the reserved categories. Into the Delhi, out of the total dropouts, 76% belong to the reserved categories, and in total 63% of the dropouts, they belong to the reserved categories. Now guys, here many a times it has been provided by the activists that these people, these students, they are dropping out because they face a higher level of pressure and the discrimination at these institutions, and because of that the dropouts have increased. But the Ministry of Education had said that such kind of thing is not true. Moreover, the Ministry of Education has provided that they have taken some of the steps also to ease the financial burden over the students. For example, the fees reductions have been offered to the students, institutional scholarships have been given, priority access to the national level scholarships have also been given to the people belonging to the vulnerable sections. Then guys, to aid the students with poor financial backgrounds, as well as other financial supports have been given, so that the dropouts can reduce, but still they are not reducing. So guys, there might be the economical aspect which government had addressed, but guys, still there might be a possibility that the social aspects might also be there, and government need to look into that particular possibility also. So guys, that is all what has been provided here into this particular article. And guys, when we talk about the accessibility and equity along with the parity into the higher education, we need that the gender skewness needs not to be there, and their caste skewness also needs not to be there. But guys, when such large number of people from the marginalized section of society will be dropping out, obviously a kind of a skewedness will be coming, which needs to be addressed by the government. And into this particular direction, stakeholders from the civil societies, from the NGOs which representing the Dalit concerns, they are to be taken into the account. So that is all guys about this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now friends, this particular article pertains to a issue that is going into the Delhi High Court. Now the prima facie, this particular thing might not be looking very much important, but guys, it might have a huge implication into our GS paper number 4, that is the ethics, integrity and aptitude. Now guys, first of all, I'll tell you the background and then I will explain the implications. See what has happened during the second wave of COVID-19. There were the many people who procured the oxygen and provided this oxygen to the people who were into the need. Many of the gurdwaras, societies, NGOs, private individuals came into this direction. However guys, what had happened, basically the drug control department, it had filed a case against these people and had said that they had basically hoarded these medical essentials. Now guys, for that particular matter, a case is going into the Delhi High Court. Now guys, a few days back, the Delhi High Court has asked the drug control department that you should not punish the good Samaritans because they were the ones who came out during the times of crisis, and if you will be persecuting such kind of people, then guys, into the future the good Samaritans will not come out. It will be leading to their frustration. Now guys, what has happened into this particular case, if we make an analysis over it, guys, there is the debate of legal versus ethical. Now, what the people were doing when they were providing the free oxygen, it was purely an ethical thing. It was a moral thing that they did. But guys, now the drug control department, it is seeing it under the lens of the legality, and into that particular thing, the ethical act that has been done, it is being persecuted. So guys, a clash between the law and the ethics had come. So guys, here what is to be done? Now obviously, prima facie, you might be saying that punishing is not a good thing. But guys, how this particular clash can be resolved? So here comes the role of a judiciary. So as the Delhi High Court has intervened and has advised the Central Drug Department, that the Drug Control Department, that you should not do this. Now what has happened? The drug controller, it has said that they will not prosecute the people who had provided the free oxygen supplies to the people into the times of crisis. So guys, here the judiciary had played a constructive role and showed an ethical way to the drug control, and it has provided that the ethics and moralities can never be or should not be sacrificed onto the altar of legality. So guys, this is a good precedence that has been taken, or a good role that has been assumed by the judiciary. Guys, please do utilize into the GS paper number 4. So and has how the compromise can be reached. So that is all about this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now guys, this particular article taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it will be important with respect to the GS paper number 2 under the topic of law, justice and the safeguards. Now see what has happened. Recently, the Tamil Nadu government, it came out with an amendment, and the amendment was made into the Tamil Nadu Gaming Act of 1930. And in through this particular amendment, Tamil Nadu actually had banned all the betting activities. Now, guys, Tamil Nadu had provided that now the online platforms they are emerging, such as the Paytm First Games, Dream 11, etc., and they are luring the youth. They are basically getting attracted. They are becoming addicted. They are basically putting all their money onto such kind of platforms, and therefore it is a socially destructive kind of thing. And therefore now the Tamil Nadu had banned all kind of betting. But guys, this particular amendment, it has been struck down by the Madras High Court. Why? Because Madras High Court has provided that the prohibition that has been provided, it is unreasonable. Why it is unreasonable? Because guys, here even the basically games of skill have been put under the label of gambling, and that has also been banned. Now we will be understanding this particular terminology, that what is the games of skill. So guys, when we talk about the gambling and betting into the India, fine, we have the Public Gambling Act of 1867, which has actually governing the gambling and betting activities. It provides that all the game of chances except lotteries and games of skill, they will be banned. So basically games of chance are not allowed. Now guys, what are these games of chance? These are those particular kind of activities where no skill is used, where no talent is used, just by the luck you can earn some kind of money. Now it has been said that economically and ethically this particular thing cannot be sustained into a civilized society, so therefore it has been banned. Now guys, apart from this Public Gambling Act of 1867, the betting, it is the subject under the state list, and the states have been given a power. If they want, they can come out with their own kind of laws also. Now guys, what has happened? Apart from the games of chance, there comes a new terminology, that is the games of skill. Now the games of skills are allowed. They can be regulated. They are the one where a person by the application of his mind tries to predict a kind of a pattern, or tries to predict the outcome, and guys, into this particular thing by using his intellect he is coming out at a kind of a result, and those kind of things could be allowed. Now guys, what has happened? You know that nowadays the platforms such as the Dream 11, Fantasy Cricket, etc., they are coming. Now onto this particular platform also guys, a few days back a petition was made into the Punjab and Haryana High Court, even into the Bombay High Court. And guys, both the Punjab, that whether these particular platforms are the game of chance or whether the game of skill. If they are the game of chance, then these platforms are needed to be banned. But guys, here the Punjab and Haryana High Court provided that these platforms are not the game of chance, rather they are the game of skill, and therefore they cannot be banned. Fine. Now guys, what has happened? As Tamil Nadu, it has banned all the games of chance and the games of skill. It has been provided by the Madras High Court that okay, as far as you are banning the games of chance, that is good, but as you have banned also the games of skill, it is not a good thing, and therefore such kind of provision has been struck down. Now guys, with this we come to an important argument. The argument is this, that guys, many a times we have seen that the state or the government, it is assuming the paternalistic role. Now the paternalistic role is one where the state becomes a kind of a guardian. State dictates that what is moral, what is ethical, what you should do, what you should not do. But guys, this paternalistic role of state is not in cognizance with the libertarianism. The citizens have their own right, they have their own choices, they have their own freedom, and they should not always be guarded. Rather, their exercise of choice needs to be respected. So guys, the Madras High Court's striking needs to be seen into this particular light, that the Madras High Court has said that the people or the citizens, they are well aware that what they are doing, and they should be given a choice. The state should not intervene into this particular matter, because this paternalism will lead to a kind of an authoritarianism, and this particular authoritarianism will not be good into the long term, and it will basically be curbing the free activity of the individuals. Fine. So that particular thing has been provided. Now guys, when we talk about the online gambling and also online betting, gambling and all such kind of things, we have seen that into the recent years the online betting has increased. Number one is that the internet penetration has increased, and because of that now every person is having the accessibility of such kind of apps. Then guys, now the disposable income into the people are also increasing. Fine. Then the third reason is that the smartphone penetration is there. Young India is there who can learn these kind of technologies, can participate into such kind of things. Digital payment user base has increased, and by the digital payment, putting money into these platforms have become easy. Then guys, affordable new technologies have come. Fine. After that guys, localized games have also been created. So basically now the youth are becoming more attracted. However, rather than state playing a paternalistic role, autonomy needs to be given to the citizens only. Now guys, into this particular direction, when we talk about the betting, gambling, etc., the law commission was constituted, which had submitted its 276th report, and within the 276th report, it has provided that rather than banning the betting and gambling, we need to regularize it. It has been provided that certain safeguards can be provided. For example, the proper gambling could be there, and the small gambling could be there. The distinction could be there. And guys, only the individual from high income groups, they should be allowed to involve into the proper gambling. It has been provided that the gambling needs to be carried through the cashless transactions. There needs to be mandatory use of PAN and Aadhaar card when the people are involving into the gambling. Moreover, it has also been provided that basically we can also tax this particular thing. So rather than banning it, regularization is a way that needs to be taken up. And into that particular direction, when Tamil Nadu outrightly banned it, it was not also seen into the good light. So guys, that is the argument with respect to the betting, gambling and the related issues. Fine guys, I hope that you have understood it. So that is all about this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now guys, this particular article talks about the Assam-Mizoram boundary dispute. Now guys, this particular thing could be important under the GS paper number 2, federal disputes. Now guys, what has happened from last few days, the dispute between the Assam and Mizoram is coming into the news. Now guys, first of all, briefly, if we see this particular dispute emerges from the fact that guys, originally the Assam was a kind of a super state into the northeast, and from the Assam, many of the states such as Nagaland, Meghalaya, Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram have been formed. Now guys, as they have been formed, obviously the boundaries that we make, these are the mental lines. Fine. And these mental lines might not always be accommodating the cultural stakes. They might not be accommodating the historical stakes that the people have asserted over their land. And many times when I draw a kind of a boundary, there is a fragmentation of the land that comes, and people lose the basically the land goes into the other states, and people face a kind of an identity crisis. So guys, the disputes into the northeast are very much rampant. Now guys, when we talk about the dispute between the Assam and Mizoram, it comes from the fact that guys, the boundary demarcation between the Mizoram region and the Assam region, it had happened way back into the colonial times. And guys, into this particular direction, two of the boundary demarcations were important. That is the 1875 demarcation and the 1933 demarcation. Now guys, the 1875 demarcation has provided that there will be a inner line, and this inner line will be going from the south of the Chachar. Now guys, the Chachar, it is a district into the Assam. Now guys, by this particular division, the inner line that has been created by the 1875 Act, what has happened, this particular region which is I am highlighting, the Mizoram believes that it belongs to the Mizoram. Now guys, this particular land, it is the hunting ground of the Mizos, and basically Mizos believe that rightfully this particular region belongs to them. However guys, what had happened after the 1875 agreement that was there, a new agreement also happened, and that agreement was signed into the 1933. Now into the 1933, the entire Chachar has been given to the Assam, and guys, basically even below where the Chachar ends, there the Manipur's stake begins. Now into this particular thing, it has been provided that the 1933, it is not recognizing the claim of the Mizos towards the south of Chachar, and guys, into this 1933 agreement, the Mizo leaders were not presented, which were actually presented into the 1875. Moreover guys, the 1875 line that was drawn, it was based onto the Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation Act of 1873, which was actually acceptable to the Mizos. So basically it has been provided that the present boundary which has been created between the Assam and Mizoram, it is basically based more onto the 1933 agreement which is there. And guys, because of this, the south of the Chachar, it is actually a very much volatile area, and guys, it basically evokes much of the emotions between the people of Assam as well as people of Mizoram. Mizoram claims that it belongs to them, but Assam says that rightfully it belongs to us. And guys, here what has happened, a kind of a no man's land has also been created, so that there is no intervention from both of the states. However guys, many a times what has happened onto this particular region, that is towards the south of Chachar, many a times a kind of an intervention has happened from both of the states. And guys, recently what has happened, the Assam administration, it burned some of the huts of the Mizo people south of the Chachar. Now guys, the Assam said that into the forest land these huts were established, they were carrying the plantation, which is not allowed. And the the Mizoram, they said that basically no such kind of things have been done, and Assam is just trying to intimidate it. So guys, basically the dispute was emerging between the Assam and Mizoram. And guys, just recently what had happened, the administration and the personals from the Assam, they crossed the no man's land territory. They had basically they had crossed a CRPF post that was at the boundary junction between the two states, and they have entered into the Mizoram, and there is a kind of a scuffle that has happened between the officials of both of the states. And guys, this particular thing was a very sad state of affairs. So guys, because of this, the confrontation between the Assam and Mizoram had happened. Now this particular article had just talked about the history of the Assam Mizoram, this 1875 and 1933 deal. Guys, there are many of the very domestic kind of details also there which are not at all relevant for the UPSC. And into the conclusion, it just provides that guys, we need to come out with a kind of a hangover that the boundaries are actually the physical boundaries, they are just the mental maps. And into this particular thing, the aspirations, the cultures of the people needed to be kept into the mind, they are needed to be respected, and a kind of a cooperative approach is needed to be adopted rather than going into the confrontation. So just that kind of suggestion has been given under it. So guys, that is all about this particular article. However guys, earlier also the Assam Mizoram dispute I have discussed. If you have seen it, then guys good. If not, then guys please focus onto it. More than that, nothing more is needed. So that is all guys about this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now guys, this particular article talks about the flood management into the Bihar, and it has been provided that the flood management into the Bihar will only be possible when the Indian-Nepal bilateral protocol will be signed. Now guys, first of all, when we talk about the Bihar, we see that every year Bihar comes under the flood, and many of the people suffer because of this. Guys, it has been provided by the government of Bihar that the 76% population into the North Bihar, it faces a threat of flooding and devastation every year. Now guys, the present government, though it has established the structural and non-structural infrastructure in the Bihar in order to reduce the flooding, but nothing has become concrete, nothing has delivered the result onto the ground. Guys, it has been provided that when we talk about the North Bihar, it is adjoining with the Nepal, and large number of rivers are draining the area. Now guys, many of these rivers, they are having the catchment area into the Nepal, into the Tibet, as well as into the Bihar, but much of their catchment area is lying into the Nepal and Tibet. Moreover guys, as they are coming from the geologically nascent and geologically evolving Himalayas, what happens, these rivers are carrying much of the boulder, silt, stones, etc., and it actually increases the sediment load into the rivers such as the Kosi, Gandak, Budi Gandak, Bagmati, Kamla Balan, Mahananda, etc. And because of this increased sediment load, the channels, they get blocked, rivers overflow, their passage becomes shallow, and the flooding happens. It has been provided guys that therefore a solution needs to be brought, and it will only be possible when a bilateral solution between the India and Nepal will be signed, because the origin lies into the Nepal. So therefore the importance of Nepal has been highlighted. Now guys, it has been provided that as early as 1937, basically the Britishers introduced a policy where they started to move from the traditional methods of flood control to the embankment based methods of flood control. Now into the embankment based methods, what we do, we basically create a wall around the river course so that the river doesn't breaches it. But it has been provided that such kind of approach has been flawed. Even guys, onto the large approach also such kind of projects have been taken up. For example guys, into the after the 1953 devastating flood, it was decided that to contain the Kosi, a kind of a huge structure, a dam will be built onto the Kosi. And into this particular thing, the cooperation between the India and Nepal also ensued. But guys, it has also said that even after building the structural embankments onto the Nepal as back as 1954, we have not been able to control the Kosi river. Then guys, therefore it has been provided that we need to look into the other interventions Fine. Rather than rerouting the streams, what we need to do, we need to understand the conventional patterns of the water flow. Earlier, these rivers used to overflow, and by that overflowing water, the help was given into the agriculture, into the farming. But now, guys, we are containing this particular river, but the river will get its own path. So, therefore, the fundamental flowed approach is there. So, guys, here it has been provided that even the Cosi Treaty of 1954, which envisaged the embankments that are to be established, fine, it is a failed approach. Moreover, even the embankments which have been created, they have not been maintained, they have not been upgraded, so even that particular thing has become defunct. So guys, here a multi-dimensional approach is needed, where the ecologically sustainable and sensitive solutions are needed to be there. The cooperation between the Nepal and Bihar, Nepal and India is needed to be made, and guys, it could be a new converging ground between the two countries. So guys, it has been provided. Moreover, it has been seen that just the hydroelectricity potential of the rivers we see, rather, and we fail to recognize the devastating phase of the rivers which they can unleash when there are much more monsoonal rains, etc. So that is all what has been provided into this particular article. Apart from this, nothing idea is there. So that is all. Now we'll be moving to the next article. Now guys, this particular article taken from the Hindu, and it is important under GS paper number 2, education reforms. Now guys, here into the article, it has been provided that why government schools are not the first choice for the parents. Fine. So here some of the arguments have been given. We'll try to identify it. Guys, it has been provided that about 51% of the students, they are into the government school. Nearly 10% of the students are into the government aided school. It seems that majority of students are actually into the government school, but guys, they are not the first choices. Fine. Even into the and particularly into the middle classes, upper middle classes, they are not at all preferred. By force, a person goes to the government schools. What is the factor behind such kind of a bias? So number one bias that comes, guys, here is that there is a perception amongst the parents that there are not the enough teachers into the government schools, and because of that, the studies of the children will get compromised. Then the second reason, guys, that comes is that the private schools, they have branded them into a particular way. They have branded them through that they have a distinct edge onto the extracurricular activities, academic excellence they have portrayed, but the government schools have never branded them. And guys, therefore, the private branding of the branding of the private schools is leading to this particular social change and social preferences. Then thirdly, guys, it has been provided that the English is the primary medium of teaching into these private schools, and because of this, the parents become inclined. Many a times, guys, sees that the parents, they themselves are not fluent into the English, and they believe that the sending their kids to the English medium school will be increasing their employability prospects into the future. So therefore, they prefer the private schools. Then guys, next reason that comes into this particular direction is that many of the government schools, they are managed by the Zilla Panchayat, they are managed by the urban local bodies, etc., and many times they are under resourced, they are underfunded, and because of that thing, much of the critical facilities are not there, so they prefer the private schools. Then guys, it has also been provided that a kind of a preference towards the private school also comes because a kind of a mistrust is existing between the citizen and the government, and they always believe that the government is always providing them the inferior quality of goods, etc., and because of that, a kind of a trust into the government hospitals and government schools has been very much low. So guys, this particular thing has been provided. Now it has been said that the last 10 years had been there when the Right to Education Act has been passed, whether some kind of change has come since then or not. So guys, it has been provided that the RTE, first of all, is a very good legislation. It provided the right to education to the children, fine, and it has tremendously filled our classrooms, fine, and the education had been made accessible. But guys, even till now, just the 15% of schools can be said to be compliant with the RTE. Even the elite schools, they are not complying with the RTE norms. It has been provided that under the RTE, it was provided that the basically education through the discovery is needed to be imparted. Childrens are needed to be their children are needed to be given such kind of an atmosphere that they become more critical into the thinking, so that they can think out of the box. But such kind of thing has never happened. Then it has also been provided, guys, that after the primary level into the secondary level, the enrollment ratio also declines. It happens because of the factor that, guys, many a times the children, they need to face a loss of livelihood of their parents, and therefore they need to assist into the economic activities. Then, guys, the transportation issues are there. Many a times the secondary schools, they are not into the vicinity. Find non-availability of separate toilets also many a times frustrates the girl child, and they drop out of the school. Now, what could be the way forward that we can enhance the status of the government school so that more children or more parents prefer them? Number one, it has been provided that the micro plan is needed to be prepared for every school. Every school needs to be customized. A kind of a larger plan is to be created for the district level, and then the plan for the state level, and a customized approach is needed to be taken, that how they could be reformed. Then it has been provided that the basic needs such as the drinking water, toilets, etc. needed to be created there, so that because the lack of infrastructure is there, the parents are not withdrawing their children, and even the girl children, they are not dropping out of the schools. Then it has been provided that focus onto the pedagogy also needs to be there, and onto the par with the private school, learning by discovery, learning by participation, etc. needs to be promoted. Moreover, the professional networks of the teachers also needed to be enhanced, so that the teachers' pedagogical skills also improve. After that, guys, it has been provided that what we have done, we have basically centralized the education process. For example, there is the National Testing Agency, fine, which is testing all the children at the national level. However, when they were imparted the education, the state level authorities, the district level, block level authorities were shaping them. So it has been provided that every state's conditions, every block's district's condition is different. So with respect to the testing, also a kind of a decentralized approach is needed to be there. Then, guys, it has been provided that the state needs to learn from the fellow states. For example, the Kerala government, they had initiated a project where the creative assessment of the students were carried, but that particular thing has not been learned. So the states need to learn also. Then after that, it has also been provided that the schools management such as the school head, school communities, principal, etc., they are also needed to be empowered. They are needed to be given the resources so that suitably they can carry forward the education policies into the school. Fine. Moreover, guys, it has also been provided that when we talk about the RTE comes out with much of the ambitious targets, but guys, they have not been actually achieved onto the ground. So all the complete implementation of the RTE into the government school also needed to be carried, so that the parents becomes more confident into the school. So guys, these are some of the recommendations and reasons that why the government schools are not preferred. So guys, that is all about this particular article. I hope that you have understood it, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article talks about the visit by our external affair minister to the Iran onto the swearing-in ceremony of the new president of Iran, Ibrahim Raisi. And it shows that how the convergence is coming between the two countries, and how basically this particular visit should be used and excused to enhance the level of cooperation between the India and Iran. So guys, we have seen that basically this particular marks come as at an important point, because into the recent times there have been much strain between the two countries, and the reasons for this particular strain is that number one, the India, it cancelled the oil imports from the Iran due to the US pressure and the US sanctions. Iran did not like this thing. After that, guys, from the Chabahar port also we have seen that India dropped the the Iran dropped the India, and as Iran dropped India, India had not liked this particular thing. Moreover, guys, between the Iran and China also the strategic cooperation is increasing, which has not been liked by India. After that, guys, Iran's comment onto the Kashmir also have not been appreciated by India. So from both the sides, there are many of the reasons by which a kind of an ice had developed between the relation. But now, as the external affair minister is visiting the Iran, it could be an event when such kind of ice could be broken. Guys, it has been provided that this visit becomes even more important because the developments that are going into the Afghanistan, where the USA is completing the pullout and Taliban is capturing the Afghan cities. Now the Iran shares a very large boundary with the Afghanistan, and the cooperation from the Iran becomes very much important. Moreover, when the Iran talks about the Taliban's occupation of the Afghanistan, Iran also says that the Taliban or the Islamic Emirate into the Afghanistan is a threat to the entire region. Even India believes it. So a convergence with respect to the prospect of Afghanistan is there. Even the Iran supports that the elected Ashraf Ghani government needs to be supported. Even India believes it. So much convergence is there, and now this convergence needs to be leveraged. Moreover, guys, basically the frustration of the Iran and India are also very much similar. what has happened now between the US, Russia, China and Pakistan, the Trioca Plus talks are going to be held. Now this Trioca Plus talks will be talking about the Afghan's future, but guys, into these Trioca Plus talks neither the Iran nor the India have been made a party. So this particular common frustration will also be yielding to a kind of a common ground between the two countries. And guys, it has been provided that as now the new president is coming into the Iran, a new kind of convergence, a new kind of innings between the India-Iran relation also needs to be started up. So guys, that is all what has been provided into this particular thing. And guys, these particular developments becomes very much important in understanding the evolving things into the IR. So that is all about this, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now friends, this particular article will be important for our GS paper number 2 health. It is just talking about the mental health into the times of pandemic. Now guys, into the times of pandemic, as the stress is increasing, loss of livelihood is there, existential threats are there, mental well-being has been compromised. Into this particular direction, first of all guys, the Lok Sabha has provided that until now no study has been specifically carried on to the suicides into the pandemic or the suicides that have been tied to the pandemic. However, it has been provided that the government had come out with some of the initiatives in order to take up the mental well-being of the people. For example, a 24/7 helpline has been started, and this helpline provides the psychological support to the different target groups such as the children, adult, elderly, women, healthcare workers, etc. Further, the advisories onto the mental health, etc. are also given here. Then guys, it has been provided that the National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, that is the NIMHANS Bengaluru, it has also issued the detailed guidelines with respect to the mental well-being. And at the primary healthcare sector also, the government is taking the steps to strengthen the mental health care. Fine, under the Ayushman Bharat Abhiyan also, the mental illness has been covered. So these are some of the steps that have been taken by the government in order to provide the mental well-being to the citizens. So guys, that is all about it. However guys, when we talk about the expenditure that is done by the government onto the health, it is very dismally low. Just 1.3% it was being done. Now it is around 1.5%. Moreover, specifically onto the mental health, much of the attention has not been paid. So guys, that is all about the today's newspaper analysis. Guys, I believe that you are liking our initiative. Guys, please do support the initiative. Please do spread the initiative. Thank you so much.